coming back to another episode of the Black Create Connect podcast, where we speak with some of the most incredible, accomplished business professionals, Black business professionals, entrepreneurs, founders, you name it. And today we have Charlene Brown. I'm so excited to have Charlene, because Charlene came highly recommended by a close friend. And Charlene Brown is now founder.
Yeah, co-founder.
Yeah, co-founder, managing director of Howlett.
Yes,
wow.
Yes, that's correct. Yes,
amazing.
I love how you just hype me up like that. I feel blessed already. Thanks for having me.
No, you have to enter with energy. Give me that energy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but how are you today?
Good. Busy week. So actually really glad to be here to forget about all of that and have a good chat with you. Definitely.
Yeah, and just relax.
Yeah, totally.
So for those that don't know what Howlett Brown is, and we're going to go into a bit more detail later on, but what is it for those that are thinking, okay, Howlett Brown?
Yeah, so what? Don't blame you. Yeah, so Howlett Brown is a people intelligence firm. So it's a hybrid law firm and consultancy firm. It's the first of its kind, certainly in this country. And we do basically all the things that I have done over my years of profession and enjoy, but we specialize in investigations, culture, learning and development, diversity, equity and inclusion, and then we advise on employment law, privacy law, kind of culture, and we work, even though we're in the UK, we work across the globe. Yeah.
Really?
Keeps me out, my usual line is it keeps me out of trouble, or on some occasions gets me into trouble.
Yeah.
But it's a really important work. It's 3 in September. And yeah, it's a fast-growing team too.
I love that. So usually, right, what I do with most of my guests that come on here, I start with their early years and kind of walk on to what they do today. But I feel like I want to start backwards.
Fair enough.
I feel like I really want to understand more about why you started. I mean, I think you started... Howlett Brown just before the pandemic. Yeah,
so September 2019, so 6 months before the pandemic and the lockdown that we never want to talk about anymore. Yeah, I worked, so I'm an employment lawyer by specialism. I worked in-house as an employment lawyer for many years, and then went to a US law firm and practiced employment law. But at the same time, I'd had a kind of long-standing career in diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'd been doing all of that stuff on the side, running networks internally at organizations, helping my friends run networks, joining advisory groups to help networks. And by networks, I'm talking like employee resource groups in workplaces, along with having side hustles myself, being that budding entrepreneur. And I just kept seeing that there was employment law advisory work, HR advisory work, and then you've got DE&I work here, diversity, equity, inclusion. And actually those groups didn't share the same skill set. And how really could you advise and help people, individuals or companies, do better, be more equitable if you don't actually have a common ground of skill? I did have that skill.
So you've done all three.
Yeah. And so I do practice in a HR capacity now, but I'd spent years advising HR of all manner of different issues of what they should do and how they should resolve things in the best way. So I just thought it was really important to bring it together, because what you have in the middle of all those different skills is culture. How can we understand people? How can we do better in the workplace? How can we just be better as people if we don't understand all the different parts that make up who we are? So I decided to take a bit of a swing and bring it together and see what happens. I was in the best place I could have been in terms of my career. I was at an amazing law firm, one of the biggest law firms in the world run by a woman. It was an American law firm. My whole path was pretty much getting mapped out there. Had the best boss, couldn't complain, but just felt like something was missing. And it was needing to take a swing and see if what I saw actually really had value in terms of helping organizations drive change. Right. So our whole premise is about ensuring employers can keep their people risk low, because risk is an important factor to consider no matter which way you look at it, but also ensure that their purpose, their integrity and their inclusion thrive at the same time. And it's gone well. So we launched in 2019. I have 20 staff now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We've got a bigger office now. And
whereabouts is your office based?
Farringdon, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You are doing extremely well.
Yeah, I won't lie.
Especially
it's hard.
Okay, so like keeping it 100 because
yeah,
I'm someone that aspires. Actually, right now, I'm on a journey to try and, you know, get in my own, creating Black Create Connect into an actual viable business as well. And hopefully one day, like yourself, employing staff and everything and doing the rest. What have been some of the key challenges kind of making that switch from being in a thriving career, not having to think about too much? Because there's a massive switch from when you're an employee to when you're a business owner.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that transition.
Yeah.
And has your race and your gender played any part in that transition, or has it not?
Yeah. No, good questions. So keeping it completely real, because I can't be any other way, just so you know, there are many lessons learned. I think the first, if I'm honest, I think I was an entrepreneur who needed to be a lawyer first to have the confidence to be an entrepreneur, if I'm honest, because I'm very, very creative. I'm very, very solutions focused. So I had the ideas and I had the kind of visualizing of the big goal, but the journey in between was always something that needed finessing. But I remember when my co-founder was around, she's left the organization now. One of our first realizations that we were on our own is, you know, we used to work for big American companies. We'd turn up on day one and our laptops were there, our business cards were there, our phones were there. It was
everything
like,
just sorted.
Here you go.
Yeah.
I'm like, what laptop do I get? What security?
For yourself.
Yeah. What security measures do I need to have? What firewalls and systems and VPNs do I need to have? And it was like, oh God, okay. So, and that was the very start. We're authorized, so we're regulated too. So I had to go through all that process to do that. That was a lesson learned. But to be honest, they weren't insurmountable because I knew they were part of the journey. If I'm completely honest, the thing I think has been the most difficult is the people side of it.
Really?
Yeah. For someone who's very
managing people.
Yeah. For someone who's very people oriented and actually advises on people. We're a people intelligence firm. Yeah. Actually, the people has been the hardest bit. So, you know, and I tell all of our clients, we are forever students. We're experts in our field, but for us to walk around and pretend we know it all every single day of every single year for as long as we're in existence is arrogant and not right. So there's been a huge learning curve there. It came because, so in March last year, it was just me and my EA and a consultant.
That's it. So you've grown to 20 people
in that year. Yeah. So everybody's growing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's that process been like for you? Because I struggle as well with just random people doing the jobs for me that take a couple hours. So how have you found that?
As a leader, you have difficulty in prioritizing what you should do and where you should be, right? So for anyone who knows me, I've always been a mentor. I've always been somebody's cheerleader. I've always gone the extra mile of helping people achieve whatever they want to achieve. I will still always do that. It's still who I am, but I don't really have the bandwidth to do it nowhere near as much as I used to. Yeah. So it's pulling back from that, wanting the best for people, but being commercially minded and understanding that my clients need to get what they get. They need to get the best level in service, but I still have a business to run too.
Question.
Go ahead.
How have you made that transition from pulling back, being a mentor, to focusing and knowing where to prioritize? Because again, I feel like that's something that a lot of us that are aiming to be their own business owners, we might struggle with, or trying to figure out. So how did you practically do that?
I'm not naturally a person who puts myself first. I'm always thinking about everybody else's needs before mine. Okay. I think I had to flip that and to think about the bigger picture for the business to have the longer term impact that I wanted it to have for everybody, right? Ultimately, I'm an activist at heart. I'm fair and objective, but I'm an activist at heart. But I work predominantly with employers as opposed to employees. Wow. But my view is if I can work with an employer and steer them in the right direction, it will have a better impact for the employees, right? So my route is different to what somebody else's might do. So practically in terms of pulling back, I just had to say no a lot more to certain things. I had to weigh up what was going to drive my goals for my organization organization or me personally. I'll be honest, I probably went too far with that in terms of not really thinking about the things that bring me joy. It was all work, 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 and work. So I've pared it back a little bit more. Like the things, well, I'm sure we'll cover it, the things I do with the Ivers Academy. You know, I used to be, before I was a lawyer, a budding singer-songwriter.
Really?
Yep. If I was not at work, I was in a studio
No
recording.
way.
Yeah. So I don't do that anymore, but working with the Ivers brings me joy because I get to be around musicians. And so I'm building my pathway back to be able to pick up some of that, because that's important for me, and me filling, this sounds super deep now, but me filling my soul to be able to be better at work and better for everybody else. So there is nothing has felt settled in my life for the past 3 years, but I think that's because of all the change that we've gone through as a society, but also my business has just gone through the roof.
Have you had a point in your business, or when you was first starting, when you was like, how am I going to do this? Like, how am I actually going to make this like a successful business? Like, I it's all in my head and it all makes sense, but...
100%. So, like, again, leveling with you, US law firms pay people an awful lot of money, right? You can be 24 and be on 150K, depending on where you go. Like, it's a lot of money. So I remember walking away from my law firm. I'd only been there 18 months, right? So I wasn't used to the money, but I had also got used to the money, right? And I remember leaving because money doesn't drive me. Actual curiosity and achieving certain things drives me. Yes, we all want nice things and we all want to live in a comfortable way, but it's never been my dominant motivator. It's been achieving goals. And I remember walking away and leaving and having to you had to save, and I was operating on half of what I was getting monthly at the firm, which was less than I was getting when I was at the bank too, right? So this was a real culture shock for me. And I'm not kidding. Every other day, so alternate days, for at least a month after I left, I had a different reaction. I had one or the other. So the first morning I would wake up and it would be liberating. I'd be like, oh, I'm free. Watch me fly. Oh my God. Watch all these great things. The next day I'd be like, oh my God, will this work? Oh. Have I done the right thing?
Yeah.
What if I fail?
Yeah.
Also, lawyers, reputation matters, right?
Yeah.
And the idea of failing in front of my peers was a weight I carried more than I probably should have. And so I was like that every other day. I still have worries, but different types of worries now, right? So like I built an incredible pipeline of work. Now I want to make sure that I give the client, I work with some incredible clients. I want to make sure I give them what they need. Yeah. But I also don't want to be reactive to what comes through the door. I want to be proactive. But we've not done any kind of sales related work.
It's just kind of come to you.
Yeah.
See, it's weird. So I'm going to be completely honest with you right now. Those emotions that you're describing, I'm feeling those exact emotions right now, like exact. So like every day, I mean, I've recently just been made redundant, so I'm working things out on my own. And like one day I'm like, power to all.
Yeah, I'm
free. You can do it. I'm jobless and I'm going to work for myself. And then some days I'm just like, no, wait. Wait, where's the stable income going to come from? Like, it's up and down.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying, it's crazy because even yesterday I got a message from someone I used to work with saying, oh yeah, this company's looking for this. And I was like, okay, that's great. They was like, it's for you, duh. And it's like, it's still not processing. So you must have, I'm sure you had so many referrals coming your way naturally. Did you clock onto every single referral or were you like, I'm not ready yet for this one? Or how did you respond to that?
No, I didn't. So interesting. When I left and I was trying, I left my firm in June and we launched in September. Okay. We'd been working on it since January, to be fair. Okay. Don't tell my old boss. But yeah. And
what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. And I got an offer to do a temporary assignment in another law firm.
Okay.
And when you're nervous about, well, where the money's coming in from, there was everything in me that was tempted to do it. And I thought, no, if I'm gonna take this swing, I need to really take the swing. There was, I'm sure we'll cover it, but there was also a real personal driver of why I needed to do it because I was running on so many compartments in my life. I felt like I felt like a bit of a jigsaw, right? And I needed things to come together.
Yeah,
so I stopped myself and forced myself to make sure I took this swing the way I needed to.
Yeah.
But in terms of business referrals, I mean, I don't think you can say no when you're starting out.
Yeah.
And perhaps there is something wrong about that, and I'm happy to be told and debate that out with people. But I felt like I needed, provided it was in my wheelhouse, I needed to just get my foot in the door. And that's what I did. And they just kept coming and coming and coming. And like I said, we've grown now 20 staff, so it worked well. But for yours, I mean, because I want to also make this conversation about you. Like, I don't know any details about your redundancy, but sometimes
things happen for a reason.
They do. And redundancies can be a beautiful thing. Take it from an employment lawyer, because when do we find ourselves in an environment where we get payouts?
Exactly.
And a minute to take a break and pause and think about what on earth we want to do with our lives. Yeah. So see this as a beautiful opportunity, no matter which way your route goes, because there's something that you can take a stab on. Yeah. I know I ended up before I quit, I went into therapy because I wasn't happy, couldn't figure out why. But then I realized quite quickly on it was about this. It was making this, should I make this jump? Should I not make this jump? Yeah. Then the conversations flipped to, I couldn't figure out whether I was more excited or terrified about taking this plunge, because the kind of chemical sensation of fear and excitement are the same.
Yes.
And so I would have that.
I'm like,
true.
I feel it.
Yes. And so I would have that conversation. I'm like, I can't tell if I'm more excited or terrified. Yeah. And the truth of the matter is, you can be super excited about what's to come, but you can't have it all and not be nervous about it. And part of that nerves and that terror is actually the adrenaline you need to get it over the line. Because when all said and done, with no matter how much stress I can have, no matter how much sleepless nights I can have, because I will sometimes run numbers in my head when I'm sleeping and don't even think about it, I would have had, without a shadow of a doubt, more regret not giving this a go than staying where I was.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like a lot of people in general go through those emotions, right? So I think that there's a need for more Black business mentors and Black mentors in certain areas. But I understand the practical issue that you're busy. Yeah. You have a lot of things to do. So how should young entrepreneurs, ethnic minority entrepreneurs go about finding mentors that can give them time? Should they be prepared to pay? Should they go to networking events? Should they just reach out to strangers? Should they just let it organically happen? How should they build a mentor so that they can grow?
Entrepreneurs or employees?
Entrepreneurs.
So that's a really interesting one, because it's a lonely old road when you're building your business. Not many people get it. Not many people will understand the grind. And even if they do, if you're doing something quite unique or you're a first in this space, people still won't get that.
Yeah.
So, I don't have many mentors around me, but I know I have some, and I have some incredible mentors, but they're also more lawyers than they are business people.
Got you.
And I think I need that business aspect of it. It is keeping networked. It is building relationships and putting yourself out there, not necessarily with a means to, I need a mentor because I need something from them. More just, who can I meet that is in my new circle, and how can I build meaningful connections and help each of us get ahead? And I always had this clear in my head, even when I was an employee. A mentor, it's not a one-way relationship, it's a two-way relationship. So you have to value that relationship and what you get from it, and give as much as you get. So when you're in the entrepreneurial space, if you meet and connect with people, then by all means, definitely have that attitude, because that is something that you can explore. There are mentoring kind of circles and programs, like Bianca Miller Cole runs her own with her husband. Yeah, there are those out there, and they run you through like the business and commercial aspects of it. But I think, I'm not sure how much is out there to, when you get to a certain stage of, I don't know, revenue or growth, who that circle can be. But I'm still very early in on my journey. You know, my full swing entrepreneurial journey only really started 3 years ago, so I'm still early. But I wouldn't give up on it, and I still certainly keep your eyes open and see what opportunities come up. And you build I build relationships every day, and I don't realize it. And so you just keep that attitude, and you will find those mentors, I think. Yeah.
Well, good. That's brilliant advice for anyone that's thinking or wondering how to go about that, but just keep putting themselves in situations, keep expanding your circle.
Yeah.
And it will come over time.
Yeah.
So onto the work that you do with clients. I know that you deal with a lot of things around discrimination, harassment, diversity, whistleblowing, bullying, all of these different things. So first of all, how have you dealt with a situation where the employer has potentially been in the wrong with a circumstance? How does it work? Because I noticed that you mentioned you only work with employers, and hopefully they can help the employees. So how would you go about a scenario where employers approach you, but actually you've realized you've done the bullying here, or you've done the discrimination here?
I guess the first thing is how it would work in terms of a practical approach is a client will come to me and say, we've received a complaint of bullying and microaggressions. We need it independently investigated. Can you investigate it? Can you pull the evidence together? Tell us what you find, right? So we say, okay, fine. So we go ahead and we then investigate it. We put a report together, and then we put our findings forward. Now, sometimes we don't always make that. Sometimes we do make the final decision. The employer will say, we need you to tell us exactly what you think, and you make the decision. Sometimes the employer will say, actually, can you just give us the facts? We will make a decision internally with a panel. Or it will be, can you give me a bit of both? Can you tell me what you think we should be doing? And actually we might endorse it in the workplace. And that's what we do. I'm a straight shooter, and this sounds really cheesy. I'm a very ethical based person, like to the point where I don't like to lie. I can't lie. It feels very uncomfortable for me to lie. So even if a client tried to sway me, the facts are the facts. And what I have said, but when I meet employees and when I meet people during the interview process, there is instantly a distrust for who me and my team are. And it's
Really?
Yeah, but it's understandable. They ask, they're complainants. They've experienced something. Whatever happened that they thought was bad, and they thought that they should never have experienced. They felt that they were mistreated because of one reason or another. So they're going to be emotional. They're going to be angry. And I get that. So when an independent firm comes in, they don't hear independent. They hear my employer is paying you. Not all the time, but sometimes. Yeah. So they'll be saying, well, will you even be integral? Neutral. So we make a lot of time then to meet with those people, and again I keep it real with them. I just say no one client is worth my reputation, no one client is worth my regulatory status. I will never lie, and no one can persuade me to state otherwise other than what we've been doing. Once we've had that conversation, they're usually then comfortable. Obviously, employers sometimes they get information back from us. That's great. They didn't actually do what they thought they were doing, but there's some really important things they need to work on, and they take that on board. Sometimes they get told, no, this happened and this is a problem. And I've had a few situations where, because it's so emotionally charged for everybody, there is this reaction to want to defend. And I've said to a client before, like respectfully, my job isn't to defend my findings. You asked me to deliver my findings. Here's what they are. You want me to help you figure out kind of how culturally you improve your organization? I can help you with that too. But this is what it is. This happened. And sometimes they say, it is what it is. We need to deal with this, and we need to take this on board, and we need to make a difference. I'll be honest, the majority is the latter. People really do want to make change, and people really don't understand how things can get so bad in workplaces. I think over the last couple of years, this whole whole point of intent has really started to resonate with people and give them something to think about. So for example, no one ever wants to, you're driving down the street, you bump into the back of someone's car. You never want to really bump into the back of someone's car, but you still may knock their car and you still may make damage, right? Even though I'm trivializing that to some extent to a person's experience, it's more just simplifying it in the sense of there are some things we can do as people that can cause massive offense that we never intended to do. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. And that doesn't mean it doesn't need to be addressed. And so that's how we rationalize that with them. You may not have meant to, but you did. And the impact is this. And so we need to figure out how you address it going forward. Yeah, it's not easy work. It can weigh on you a lot, but it's incredibly important that you make sure that, you know, if there's a way that you can move an organization forward, I don't know, because it does something incredibly special for the world, or it has great people, or people just deserve, you know, to be treated fairly, then it's worth that with what we have to go through sometimes.
You sound super passionate about what you do. It's clear you're passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
I'm curious to understand where that came from, where that started, how you became so passionate about wanting equality, because like yourself, I'm like that as well. Like, I'm really passionate about having a really good, healthy workplaces, great cultures. But there's also some people that are not as passionate as making the change. They want to be in it, but they don't want to be the driver of it. Many people don't want to be the, especially
most people, especially
black women as well.
Yeah,
I do find that it's like, oh, I don't want to be the person to.
And I get that though. I get that, because the other side of the coin, that when you're an employee, that can have double meaning, right? It can catapult you in terms of the progression of your career, or actually it can categorize you and put you in a box in terms of limiting what your potential is in that place. It always really depends on where you're at. When I really started to progress my development in that area, I was at the bank, and I had mentors and sponsors who saw that as potential and helped me climb. But I also had people that didn't like it, to the point where they don't know I know, but I got blocked. I've won a few awards, and I got blocked for awards because the kind of narrative was Charlene's won enough, spread the love. And it was always about trying to limit my progression. It happened. So I get why people are thinking, do I want to be that change? Do I not want to be that change? What is my concern? And they have to do what's right for them, because they can't carry the world on their shoulders. That's not any one person's responsibility. But if you're naturally built as an individual to want to do the right thing and to drive change, and you have this energy and a view of how you can change things, then you should, if you want to. And that I've always been like that. My dad was in kind of diversity and inclusion space from when I was a kid. My first experience of working in kind of D&I, I was 7. I went to I went to Zimbabwe, did some work there, met Mugabe, all sorts of people.
Wait, what type of work did you do in Zimbabwe?
My dad, well, I say work, but my dad worked.
Okay.
I set up a pen pal scheme between my schools, but
got
to really start to learn about different cultures and how schooling was different, and that whole kind of just difference of people and nuance of people. I learned a lot about that, and then just kind of followed my dad around in what he was doing. He did documentaries on gangs in the North. I was a part of that. Yeah, he did a documentary on being shared heritage and what that meant, that dual identity. So he also made me watch Roots when I was 7. So like,
he was like, you're gonna learn.
Yeah, you are gonna learn. So this was very much my lens from the beginning. It's actually funny because I wasn't sure I was going to be an employment lawyer. So to now have gone through my journey and be an employment lawyer and then look at it full circle, it's hilarious that I didn't know that when I was going through the journey because of what I did. So for me it was doing the right thing and making a change was always going to be that. And I'm not, I've always found those kind of views, it's always done this way, quite jarring and a bit irritating. So if there's a way that we can improve to help people, then it should be done. And I've just got that approach.
And would you say your dad's had a massive impact on that? Or
yeah, he has. I do, and so has my mum, to be fair, but I do, because my mum, that I'm half Irish, half Jamaican, and my mum has this.
Yeah.
My mum has this kind of fire in her belly.
Yeah.
Like,
Is she the Irish or Jamaican?
Yeah, she's the Irish one, that just like kind of just relentless energy to achieve, just nothing will hold her back. I think the combination of the two helped me, and seeing them both work, because they had all three, they met when they were 12, got married at 18, had me at 21, had all three of us. I've got half brother as well, but had the three of us full siblings by the time they were 30, and then went back and studied. So I also saw what grafting and hard work looked like. Yeah. But yeah, they were both really inspirational to me, just in very different ways. And I see, I do things slightly different to what my dad still does, but there are certainly synergies.
What do you think different about? What's the things that you don't?
Oh, different to what he did?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a lawyer, so I do legal advice. He delivers training like I do, but he doesn't investigate issues like I do.
Okay.
My dad's he does a lot of, he has a PhD in a lot of this work and in this area in kind of psychoanalytical skills, and he's done a lot of research on Black leaders in white institutions. He is that guy. But I just look at it quite differently. He's also in the North, and I work across a global remit. So there's just differences, but we do chat about the similarities and the differences at the same time. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So when you was in school then, I'm guessing you kind of knew, I want to get into law.
Or be Beyonce. It was one or the other.
You sang as well.
Yeah.
So hold on. Let's take a pause on the law. Let's go to the fun side a little bit.
Yeah.
Singing, songwriting. How did it come about? Where did it go? How far did you go with it?
Yeah, gosh. I don't actually remember how it came about. I just realized I could sing in school. So we'd do all the school shows, kind of perform. There was a few of us that could sing. There's a lot of singers in my family on my mum's side. Yeah, I've got a lot of I have a musical family in that sense. Also on my dad's side, to be fair. And
I kind of want to sample, but I don't know.
No, do not ask me. Singing is like singing. Wait. Singing is like going to the gym. If you have not been for a while, don't try and do 100 squats right there and then. So like, I'm not gonna sing for you. I'll send you a link afterwards, but it can't feature in
Okay,
this.
no. Wait. Sorry, guys. I will not be sharing the link, but I'll be watching it myself. Yeah. I'm curious to hear what voice you have.
Yeah. Well, you can be the judge of that. But yeah, I got into that, and then I started spending, because I'm from Huddersfield, West Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite a musical town. I went to this kind of youth center that had singing, dancing, music, that type of thing. I was in a dance group. They had a studio.
So you done dancing as well?
Yeah, don't ask me to bust moves either.
Because I'm saying, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. And we used to do dance competitions and stuff, but I used to then record. I got into this band. Was 15, and the guys in the group were much older than me, so they brought me a mentor. Her name was Nina. She lived in London, but from Huddersfield. She was amazing. She'd worked with Craig David and other people. She helped me develop my first. It was one of the reasons I came to London. I used my law degree as a mask to come and do music, which is madness.
Your parents?
Yeah, I mean, number one rule I can give you. Don't ever use a law degree to hide a music career. It makes no sense. Law degree is not easy. Like, pick something else. And then I just recorded. So I was recording with different kind of urban underground artists and stuff. And then the few things that I would say were really kind of pivotal for me was two of my songs were on, well, one of my songs was on ITV. ITV2 on a TV show. Okay. There was a girl band in a reality TV show, and they kind of performed my song. They took two of my songs.
Oh, so you out there.
Yeah, but when we're saying out there, we're talking like out there because there's other people who are out there.
No, but
there.
We're focusing on Charlene. What was your singer name? Was it just Charlene Brown?
Definitely not telling you that either.
Oh, you had a different singer name. Now everyone's gonna be online like.
Of course I did. Like, I'm also a lawyer, right? So my creative outlet, my writing is quite different to my drafting. So yeah, I got to work on the first Bollywood film filmed in the UK. So I did the English side of the soundtrack, and that was cool. I worked with some of the best music producers kind of in India and in other locations, and that was awesome.
Do you have Bollywood songs?
Yeah. The weirdest experience, though, I remember this. I was in, because I used to live in East London. I went to the Cineworld in Ilford, right?
Yeah.
And I saw the film kind of on the screen, knowing that people had gone in there to go and watch it. And then I looked on the YouTube link. Seeing someone mime to your voice is just like weird, seeing that happen. Yeah, but that was fun doing that too. And yeah, I've written over 250 songs, recorded and written over 250 songs. Yeah. And I used to manage artists too. So I used to develop and manage artists. Yeah.
Charlene, you're giving boss,
creative. Busy.
Who inspired you to do the music side of things as well? Like, did you have a particular parent that was pushing you? Did you have an artist that you was like, oh my goodness, you inspire me? Like, who was inspiration?
No, because I've got a really eclectic taste in music, honestly. If you were to look at my songs now, you'd laugh.
Top 5 songs right now.
That they're a bit different. I'm going to give you a few of them though.
Okay.
So the first one is From Now On from The Greatest Showman. Do you know that one?
No.
You need to listen to that. It's so cheesy, but I've listened to it a few times this morning. Straight Up by Paula Abdul.
No.
So this is like, it's like an 80s classic.
When I heard Paula Abdul, I thought, my mum.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Place Where You Belong, Shy. Do you remember that?
No.
Oh, see, I don't want to sing it for you either. I've got some of Beyonce's new album on there. So Summer Renaissance, Pure Honey, American Problem, Cozy.
Okay.
The Girl by the Internet. Do you know that tune?
No.
See, we need to chat.
No.
And then I've got rock bands like Evanescence, but then I've got Bashman on there too.
Okay.
And so
real mix.
Yeah, and then
wow.
Do you remember Teenage Dirtbag?
No. Wait, the song? She's
yeah.
just a teenage
dirtbag. I have that on there too.
Oh, wow.
It brings me joy. I don't care. And then some house tunes too. Yeah.
Are you into
and some Afrobeats?
I'm a piano as well.
Yep, I've got a few playlists there. Look, you can see it all.
Yeah. I just see the names and the bright colours and the pictures.
Yeah.
Like, that's I'm a piano.
So that's my I've got, it's really, really, really eclectic, my taste in music.
I love that. So I guess that's, because law's so serious, I guess that's a nice outlet for you.
It is, yeah.
Every now and then.
Yeah, it is. And when I always knew, so when I was about 9, I think my mum and dad asked me, I mean, I don't know who asked that at 9, I must have a chat with them actually, but what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to be a singer or a lawyer. I just knew.
At 9?
At 9, yeah. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
I can't tell you why. I just knew. And my dad, obviously entrepreneur, was like, go and pursue your music. And then my mum, she's still in finance, but now runs her own business, was go into law. And apparently I turned around and said, I'm going to go into law to earn enough money to fund my music at 9.
Wow.
I wonder what my children might be like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, I followed that path. And that's not to say if anyone has those, if you don't have that kind of clarity, that's actually a really good thing too, that you don't have it. And if you change it, that's also equally good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did. Yeah.
So your path seems quite simple, because I find that whenever I interview people usually know what they're going to do around university times ish, just about.
Yeah.
And then adults. So you kind of had like a clear path
until I decided to set up my own business. I would say my path's not as clear now, because I'm going to run this business, but I have 10 years worth of business ideas that I want to build. I know I won't build all of them because it's an undertaking and a half, but my strength is my ideas. I have ideas every day, and I just want to be in a position where I can be curious in my endeavors and not worry about anything else. I want that to be the driver. So it's not that clear about what comes next.
You mentioned earlier that people have been some of the most difficult things in your career so far. How have you managed to sell your vision as a leader to bring people on board? Because that's what I find it's not massively challenging, but it can be challenging, because you might talk to someone today and say, hey, I need this work done. They're like, yeah, great, sounds good. And 2 weeks later, it's not done, and then I start to think, you're not passionate enough about this.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to sell that to you, or I need to bring you in.
Yeah.
How have you brought people on that journey, and what's been difficult about
Yeah, it's I have less of an issue trying to sell. People get the business now, even though it never really existed before. People get why it exists, and people want to see change. And younger lawyers and younger DEI, because that's the other thing, right? So my team is combined of a multitude of different professions, because actually the combination of the skill is the secret sauce, so to speak, as opposed to divisions in your business. So I have academics, psychologists, litigators, employment lawyers, HR professionals, researchers, you name it. It's a combination of skill, and we pull all of those skills in to give this kind of really holistic view of people. So people get that, and people are excited to work with us either as a client or as an employee. But generally, I find it's really the reality of what that takes, right? I don't, I want our culture to be great. I want our culture to be positive. Like everybody, we have a big office now, and everybody gets free food throughout the day, right? The snacks, there's drinks, the smoothies, is everything we make it. Yeah, it is. But at the same time, but
it's happiness.
But it's also very hard work. Yeah. So I don't sugarcoat it for people. And some people want it, and some people have the stamina for it, and other people don't, and that's okay too. I guess for you and me as kind of leaders in what we do, we can't want something more for someone than themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I used to have that when I used to develop music artists. I'm like, I can't want you to be a superstar more than you want to be a superstar. Like you've got to dig deep and push. And I think there's a level of a lack of realization around how much. I've never been afraid of hard work, never ever been soft at rolling up my sleeves, but even knew this was going to be hard, but this was even harder than I expected. So
really?
Yeah. But I get that, and I rolled with it, and I kind of, like I said, I dug in and made it happen. So I think for people, it's that thing. It's actually, this is harder than you think, but the rewards will come, but nothing, hard work is necessary for anything you achieve. So it's more that. So, that person not getting back to you in 2 weeks, you've got a business to run. Yeah. They can't screw with your journey. Yeah. So you've got a decision to make. Do you give them another chance, or do you let them go? Yeah, it's different when they're your employees, but you've got a business to run.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's probably a big difference in me now. I've had to be a lot more kind of boundary set. I've had to set a lot more boundaries around what I will tolerate from what I won't.
Yeah.
And be like, enough already, kind of thing. Yeah. But it's not, my team's great, and there's a lot, and they're all developing. Yeah. But as you build, when you blow your business up and you do all the great things that you're going to be doing from here on out, it will be a case of, okay, who can I work with? If they don't meet my needs, then that's okay, but I don't have to work with them.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So another question was more so on the D&I front. So I know you have D&I professionals that probably work with you. What do you expect them to have in regards to like qualifications, knowledge, experience? Because I feel like there's a rise in D&I professionals now, and
there is.
And I noticed that there's a diverse range of experiences, and I'm curious to see what you would qualify to be. Great, this is a great profile.
Yeah, it's a really good question, because D&I professionals, when you're in a room, when you're internal in an organization, depending on that culture, and if you're in a room with HR and legal, D&I doesn't get a look in unless that D&I person knows exactly what they are talking about. A lot of D&I professionals have gone into that role because they had a passion for it, not because there was a technical skill applied to it. So for me, if I bring any more D&I people into my business, I need to see mass potential. I need to see that they either already have what I'm about to say, or that they are willing to do this, which is you need to understand HR process. You need to understand people processes generally. You need to understand how issues realistically manifest in the workplace. And you need to know your way around the Equality Act. And not enough to say the Equality Act 2010, you have to understand it. And I'm not saying you have to understand it like a lawyer does, but if you can't talk to me about that, then for me, you are missing a third of what you're supposed to have with the D&I professional. I'll say that to kind of any employment lawyers. So I have junior employment lawyers, and kind of we will start hiring some junior D&I professionals soon, but both of them work on each other's matters because they all have to learn it. It's a big thing for me, actually, in the D&I space. I've seen, like, you know, Cambridge and Oxford and other places popping up with these masters. And I look at the program, and I think none of this will teach anyone anything.
Really?
Yeah. The other thing, I might as well carry on. I'm on a roll now, but they were all white professionals, and I'm not saying diversity only isn't. You know, there's such a broad range of the meaning of diversity. I'm not saying it can't be white, but I'm saying it's not just white. There's so much more to it. And I think people get it wrong notoriously. So it's another reason why I do what I do the way we do it, because we don't take that approach at all.
I think that's so important to reiterate.
I got you there. I got you.
Let's be losing my words. Because I've been in different work environments where I've seen head of D&Is or D&I leads just completely get ignored.
Yeah.
Like they're not able to have any effective impact. It is difficult. Yeah. And I've just wondered, what is it that, you know, that's not working, that is working? Yeah. And for you, obviously it's working. So it's good to kind of know.
I think it's because I'm an employment lawyer.
Yeah,
and I think it's because I think it's a few things. I think it's because I'm an employment lawyer. I think it's because I'm a strategist. And I think it's because I've worked in service provider businesses as well as internally in as an employee in businesses. Yeah. Not every organization is like that, but it's either you don't command the respect in an organization and you don't have a voice to drive change, legal will always win, or an organization has brought you in because you need to fix everything and it's all on your shoulders. So either way, you need this skill set. Yeah. You need to be able to do it. I was a network leader. I grew one of our networks when I was an employee by 94% across 8 countries, like the one where your friend was at. So I did that, but I learned the worst person to be a network leader is also an employment lawyer, because I would get told by heads of D&I, right? You can't do that. That's legal. And I'm like, yeah, I think you'll find that it's not. Yeah, I think you'll find that it's not. But they didn't want me to do it. So that was just as an example. So yeah, that we need to really raise the skill set and support the development of that skill set in the D&I space for sure.
How did you build those networks as well? Because I know I want to kind of get into you building networks and being an advisor for so many different things. There's a long list of things. But first of all, how did you grow the network internally at that company?
I treated it like, if anyone who listens to this who has heard me say it before, they'll be like, here we go again, don't give her the mic on this. I treated it as a business within a business. Yeah. My first thing was I treated that network like it was a business. So it was, what were my objectives? Who do I need in my leadership team? And then how can I navigate the plan, right? But within that, I also looked at what are the needs of the organization, as in the employer. What are what's their commercial objective for the next 5 years? What language do they speak? What do I really want to do? And how can I meet them two in the middle? So a lot of the D&I work that we now do for clients is about looking at their commercial, their CSR, their ESG strategy, and overlaying it with the diversity, equity, and inclusion one, so that they have one to work with, right? Because it's all one and the same. DEI, D&I, whatever you want to call it. It can't be over here while your commercials are over here. They have to be the same. So that was actually the mindset I had even when running the network. So we set goals, we set objectives. I recruited like it had gone out of fashion. I'd be getting a coffee. I'd talk to people, I'd recruit them. I'd be coming out the bathroom, washing my hands. I'd talk to some people, I'd recruit them. I was one of those people. But here's the other thing that I did.
That, though.
Yeah, but here's the other thing that I did. I asked them what they wanted to be and what they wanted to do, or what they have an interest in, what their passions were. And then I figured out how I could bring them into the network. So there was a woman who did a communications degree and spoke 4 languages, but she was in recruitment and wanted to move into comms. Oh. So I gave her a comms role. And actually that experience was CV related, and she left and moved on to do comms role.
I love that.
So that's the type of thing that you do. And it can work, but you have to have that kind of you have to have that strategic kind of mindset. You have to think through all the no's and all the challenges you're going to get and already have an answer for it. And then you have to strategically take people on the journey with you. Yeah. Even if it's something that you feel is painstaking, you don't solidify and cement that change if they don't feel like they're on a journey with you. And I mean that with leaders as well as staff and people.
I love that. That was so, I felt like, again, you spoke to me because as someone that has their own network, I think to myself, how can I continuously grow it? How can I continuously get people involved? But I noticed that I'll be in the club or I'll be out on holiday and be like, do you want to join this network?
But you should.
It's automatic. Yeah. That's the passion.
Yeah, that is.
But it's nice to know that I'm not the only one.
You're not the only one. I was in the middle of the carnival and I got introduced to an accountant, and the carnival, this was years ago, the carnival is popping off everywhere, and he and I are like, so business card.
I'm like that, Charlie, because I think to myself, when am I going to see you again?
Yeah.
If am I going to see you again? Or I'll say, you know what, let's just quickly connect to LinkedIn QR code, we'll speak. And I remember actually this year when I went to Mexico and I met these ladies in the pool from Canada, and when I got back they both messaged me saying, hey, it's so-and-so from the pool. I'm like, I love that. I'm just like, I'm so annoyed. But I love it. Honestly, I love it.
That's the right way. That not many people have that. If that doesn't come naturally to you to be an entrepreneur and build a business, that's a missing element that's pretty difficult to fill, especially if you're creating something from scratch. So hold on to that, embrace it. Absolutely.
On my up days, go power days, I definitely will. But I guess for those that don't know, I want you to list out awards, boards that you're a part of as well.
Okay.
Advice, just everything, your accolades, apart from everything else. You've been a singer-songwriter and also a co-founder and everything else. But list out your accolades because I want us to...
Oh, I'm so awkward when I don't like talk. I'll do it, but I also am a person where I'm like, if I didn't have them, I'd do it anyway. I have a PR and branding kind of team now, and they're like, oh, can we do this? I'm like, no cheese. Don't be like doing all this cheddar about me. I just don't want it. I'd rather just do it about the work. But I will tell you, because you've asked me the question and I've swerved a few, like my music ones. My old bank, they had a star award where they pick the top 50 out of the company globally, and it had 55,000 people. I won one of those in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah. Their star. In 2015, I was a finalist in the European Diversity Awards. I didn't win though. Somebody else did.
But it's still good though that you were a finalist.
Woman of the Year. I was like, I'm way too early in my career to be against these, and the right person won. Was it that? Yeah, I think it was that. In 2016, I won the Rising Star in financial services for the Black British Business Awards.
Ooh,
that was really special to me, that one. I was I still remember it like it was yesterday. In 2016 I also won the Rising Star for the Legal Diversity Award. In 2017 there was the Empower list and it was Financial Times. So Empower and Financial Times used originally, when they started, they listed the top 30 future ethnic minority leaders in this country. And I was number 2.
That's amazing.
Yeah, in 2017. I was like, I want to meet number 1.
How do these come about? Do they just contact you and say we've been?
No, you have to be nominated.
Okay.
People nominate you. Then there's a whole kind of panel judging. I don't know how it all happens, but you either win or you don't. And so that was a really great experience. And then in 2020 and 2021, I was, the global diversity list. I'm going to get this wrong now, but I'm on the list for kind of, I think it's like the top 20 leaders in the profession of diversity and inclusion. So and on that. And then recently, we've been nominated for Women-led Company of the Year as a small business by the British Business Awards as well. So we'll find out how that goes. Yeah.
I love this, Charlene.
Yeah, I want to more focus it on, or just general. To be honest, there's something about our work that it makes sense for us to. Yes, it's good to have a profile, and yes, it's good to celebrate, and I'm not knocking that, and it's great to celebrate and everybody else that achieves, or even aspires to achieve, but also. What we do is quite sensitive. So if we don't get those things, we don't get that profile. Being discreet also has its benefits for what I do.
I mean, I completely understand what you're saying, because, again, I get a bit awkward when people start talking about me. I'm like, don't do that. But it's important to recognise that you have done amazingly well, and you've been consistent with it as well. And you deserve the accolades. I'm sure it's not every day you wake up maybe and say, Charlene, you are doing amazing. I don't know.
No, I don't.
So I'm giving you that energy.
Thank you.
To be reminded that you're inspiring me. You've probably inspired so many people from this conversation as well.
Thank you.
And I'm so grateful that you took some time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to me. I'm feeling special.
Oh, you are special.
because you came and spoke to me. So thank you so much.
No,
Charlene.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we got to do this. I was like, I cannot reschedule. I need to be there. Where's the taxi? I could have driven, but I was like, I need to work on the way. I'm not missing her again. Someone get her number.
No, it's fine. I'm extremely grateful, and it's been a great conversation. So if any one of you like this conversation, feel free to share. Is there any last words you'd like to say, Charlene?
To entrepreneurs, take a swing. The worst thing you can have is regret, and I hope I didn't bore you. Thank you so much for listening.
No one's bored.
I don't know. It's partly law, but thank you, honestly.
Thank you, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.